Hello, NAVFAC. I'm Jim Sullivan, your CIO. It's October, which is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We, we do this every year. I actually put out every year, I put out quite a bit of information regarding cybersecurity best practices, things you can do to help secure your work and home life. I realize that what we put out is pretty extensive and is probably a little confusing and maybe hard to follow. So I'm going to spend a few minutes today just talking about um, really my top 10 list of things that I think are worth you considering doing, um, primarily because of our current extended remote work environment, things you can do at home to help secure both your work and your home life. So I'm going to just run through a quick top 10 list for you, and hopefully this will help you be more cyber secure. All right, so number one, keep your software updated. It's difficult to do. I know sometimes people forget, but it's probably one of the most important things for you to do to keep yourself secure. To be honest, I forget, so I enable automatic updates, so all my software gets updated automatically. This applies to both your operating system and your applications. So really anything you've got that's got software, if it's got the ability to do automatic updates, you really probably ought to consider allowing that to do it, so that way you don't have to remember. All right, number two, use multi-factor authentication. So what is multi-factor authentication? So multi-factor authentication is really using more than one factor to identify yourself. In cybersecurity terms, that's something you know, something you have, something you are. So something you know is something like a password or a PIN. Something you have is something like your authenticator. For example, today we use CACs, right? So your CAC allows you to do multi-factor authentication because you know your PIN and you have your CAC. That's two factors, right? The something you are is biometrics, facial ID, fingerprints, even iris, eye scanning. Uh, the most typical way that multi-factor authentication is implemented today is by using the something you have piece by sending you like a text with a PIN to enter in addition to your password. So you have the password that you know, and then because you have your phone and it's sending you a text, that's something you have, and it's allowing you to use multi-factor authentication. If the applications or tools that you use allow it, you should really try to enable it. All right, number three, look at your passwords, right? Make them long, make them unique, right? Don't use the same password for every single system, right? If one of them gets compromised, that's a potential vulnerability for every other system you have that uses those passwords. Don't write them down, and you should really consider using a password manager. There are a number of tools out there. I'm not going to recommend a particular one, but consider using a password manager to manage your passwords. Then you only have to remember one password, and the password manager takes care of the rest. Okay, number four, secure your home Wi-Fi. You should really consider turning off your SSID, that's your subscriber ID. That's the thing that advertises your network out there so that anybody who's coming by you, so you can see it, but others can see it as well if they're close to your router. They can see your subscriber ID. You don't typically need that to be on and advertising when you've got everything you want connected to your system, so consider turning off advertising your subscriber ID. Use strong encryption. Currently, the strongest one right here, it's got it on the screen here, WPA2 PSK AEP. Okay, use the strongest encryption that your router allows. Number three, know what's accessing your home network. You should periodically take a look at your router and see what you have accessing it. And if you don't recognize what it is, you should probably figure it out. Hopefully it's yours, but if it's not, you should probably take steps to get it off your network. And consider putting things like Internet of Things devices onto your guest network. Most routers these days have the ability to have your internal network, but then also a guest login. Internet of Things devices, things like smart appliances, baby monitors, security cameras are Internet of Things devices. And some of those are not very secure. Putting them on on your guest Wi-Fi keeps them segregated from the rest of your home network, the thing that's got your laptop or your home computer on it. Number 5. So what about Wi-Fi when you're away from home? So you should really avoid connecting to public Wi-Fi in airports or coffee shops, right? You don't know who's connecting to it, and you are potentially making yourself vulnerable by passing your information over those Wi-Fis. Try to use the data on your phone, or if you've got a phone and a laptop, maybe tether your phone to your laptop so you can use the cellular path. If you absolutely need to, let's say you're in a hotel, you should really consider, this is for your own personal use, a personal VPN, a virtual private network, right? There are plenty of them out there. They typically come at a fee, but it will basically create a secure tunnel from your device to the destination that you're trying to reach, similar to the way you do with your computers at work. Okay, number 6, use antivirus and anti-malware. So this is something you probably have heard for many years, but make sure you have it, make sure it's on, it's up to date, and it's actually doing the scanning, right? So you will occasionally see sometimes it'll glitch and it'll turn off. Make sure that it's actually functioning and up to date. All right, number 7, know your Internet of Things devices. I can tell you from my personal use, I have a whole bunch of Internet of Things devices. We have a smart oven, security cameras, I said baby monitors. Know what you have, know what the capabilities of those devices are, and know when they're active. So if you have, for example, things like Alexa or Google Home with microphones, if you don't need them to be turned on, especially the microphones, turn them off, right? Those things are active all the time unless you turn them off. Baby monitors, another example. You know, they've reports of hacks of baby monitors are out there. You don't want somebody talking to your baby that you don't know about. So know what the capabilities are and disable them if you don't need them. Change the passwords. You should know whether some of these devices, even children's toys, some of them have cameras and microphones, right? Know what they are and know whether they're enabled or not. And if they don't need to be enabled, disable them. Number 8, protect your mobile devices, right? iPhones, iPads, you name it, right? So same rules apply as you would apply to your personal computer, your personal laptop. Use a PIN or password if it enables it. Use facial recognition so that if you lose it, it's not accessible by somebody who finds it. Check the device settings. One in particular, talked a little bit about Wi-Fi a few minutes ago. Don't set up your personal devices to automatically connect to Wi-Fi, because they'll be searching for Wi-Fi, and if you're out and about, especially on your phone, and you're in a coffee shop, it may be automatically connecting to Wi-Fi and you don't know it if you don't realize that setting is on. So you need to learn your device, look at the settings, and know what settings are enabled. Same thing with Bluetooth. If you don't need it on and you're out and about, you probably should consider turning it off. Okay, number 9, be skeptical. So what I mean by this is really have a questioning attitude about all things IT, right? So if you use social media, what are your social media settings? Who can see what about your life? What kind of personal information do you put out there, and who can see it? It takes a little bit of an effort, but you should know that, right? And limit those things so that you're not sharing with people you don't personally know on social media. Excuse me. Be skeptical of emails that you get, right? So, you know, especially at home, but certainly at work. At work it's a little easier because you should be able to tell whether if you're getting something from on your work email, it should be digitally signed if it's coming from a .mil address. If it's coming from outside, there's typically a tag on it that shows you that it's coming from external. And if you're not expecting it from some external source, Do you know what that source is? Were you expecting it? Should you be opening it? If you don't know what it is and why it's come to you, maybe you should be deleting it. At home, it's a little harder, but again, if you weren't expecting it or don't need to look at it, don't open it. Don't click on the links. Even the preview pane on Microsoft Outlook is essentially like opening an email. So if you think you're looking at a preview pane and you're not as vulnerable as opening it, you are. You should also be looking at what the applications that you're downloading on, especially on your mobile devices or your home computer, what are those devices accessing? Right? Every one of them will tell you what they need access to. They need access to your camera, they need access to your pictures, they need access to your contacts. You really should approach that with a questioning attitude. Why does a particular game, let's say, need access to your contacts, right? And if you're not comfortable with it, then consider not downloading and using that particular application, right? So some of these, because they're sharing information that you may not be aware of, just approach it with a questioning attitude. You're giving away your access to your private information sometimes when you download and use these applications. And what accounts do you have, right? Over time, we all we all end up with quite a few, personal, social media accounts, banking, just regular commerce accounts, the things you buy online. Well, what do you have out there? What do you have out there that you're not using anymore that you might be able to get rid of? If you don't need it anymore, delete those accounts, just like you would delete a credit card, right? Delete those accounts so they're not out there exposing whatever information might be in those profiles to somebody who might hack them, and you may never know it because you're not using them anymore. All right, and number 10, back up your data, right? So even if you do all the other 9 things that I just mentioned and all the things we put out in our emails during Cybersecurity Awareness Month, you're still potentially vulnerable. Even when I talk about multi-factor authentication, that still comes with some risk. So you should always back up your data. You don't want to be the victim of ransomware or something else that may shut down your machine and you may lose your data. So you should be regularly backing up your data, whether it's someplace in the cloud or a local storage on your home network. But back up your data, because bad things happen even if we're taking all the precautions that we think we're aware of. So, okay, that's it for this month's Cyber Awareness Month tips. So please take a look at the emails we're sending out during the month and practice good cybersecurity even during the rest of the year, not just during October, which is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. All right, thanks.